Hello everyone, I'm Barbi Leo. Welcome to our 3 News Plus app. Today I am talking to Bella Taylor, a junior at IWA Incarnate Word Academy. She is a member of the IWA Anti-Human Trafficking Club, a student-driven club that raises awareness about human trafficking amongst their peers, educators, and community. Bella, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to talk.
Of course, so tell us more about this club, how it was founded. You were telling me during the break earlier that you were a founder of the club.
Yes, so Anti-Human Trafficking Club at Incarnate Word Academy is a part of a bigger program in Houston. It is a youth action board called Project Protect Our Children. I recently started and founded the first of the clubs from Houston in the Coastal Bend through Corpus Christi. So we were the first to do it in the Coastal Bend, but it is a club in the US and in Texas. We were just the first to do it in our area. With our club, what first inspired me to be a part of the club and to create it in Corpus was that my grandmother took us to see The Sound of Freedom at the movie theater. And after I saw that movie, I kind of understood and had a better idea of what human trafficking was. And I felt like it was something that was real and not just something that I had kind of heard about. Um, After that movie, it really sparked my emotion. But it was not until a couple months later when I was invited to a meeting with Miss Meredith Carter on Ocean Drive, where she had brought Miss Denise from Houston that worked with the Youth Action Board to give us information on her club and how we could start it in our community, which was when I really realized that it wasn't just a movie, it was actually a real thing that happened to people around me and in my community. And that kind of scared me. And I was like, wow, this needs to be there needs to be something that's done about this.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. I saw that movie and I was impacted as a mother, of course. What were some of the major takeaways from the movie?
Really, my number one takeaway was that it can happen to anybody. I always thought there had to be like certain circumstances that you were in, like, but really it doesn't matter, especially with social media these days. It can happen to anyone, and it happens to a lot of people that we wouldn't even know it's happening to. My other biggest takeaway was that it's just so important to have prayer in your life, um, and that God's children are not for sale. Children are not supposed to be sold. Children are not supposed to be exploited and used.
That's the
So,
best message that you could give us. Have you experienced anything close to this, or had any red flags, or seen anything that or heard anything from your peers? Any stories that you could share?
so I don't necessarily have any personal anecdotes, but I just know that there are a lot of circumstances that teenage girls go through on social media that are red flags. And if you are not educated properly growing up with social media, it is not easy to always indicate bad situations and to indicate what information you're giving out, if it's okay, if it's not, if these things are safe, if it's okay to share certain information about yourself, if it's okay to chat with people that you've never met before. There's just lots of blurry lines with social media nowadays. And if children aren't taught at a young age how to use social media correctly, it can lead them into situations that are unsafe.
I'm glad that you brought that up. While seeking privacy, privacy is a natural part of growing up, of course. Parents should be aware of potential risks, including exposure to harmful content, cyberbullying, and inappropriate online behavior. Now, understanding the digital tools and coded language, that teens use is crucial for, of course, creating a safe online environment. Kids often use abbreviations, they use keyboard shortcuts and emojis to convey messages. Sometimes they're okay and sometimes they're not. How, as us as parents, what kind of advice can you give us, Bella? What should we be looking out for? What kind of apps, abbreviations, emojis should we be on the lookout for when we look at our kids, social media pages, phones, and devices?
Really, I think the best thing that you can just do as a parent is to stay aware, keep asking questions, keep seeking information. It's all out there. You just have to look for it. Um, I would say, as far of like abbreviations and things like that, there's not any that I can necessarily say like blatantly, like this is the phrase that you need to look for. But just keeping in touch with your kids. Make sure that you know what's going on with them. Ask them about their lives. Ask them how they're feeling. Ask them what they're doing. Because a lot of the times that when things happen, the mental and emotional state of children will change, and that is the biggest indicator. So just to check up on your kids and to just stay involved in their lives, know their friends, know who they're talking to, and just teach them the right way to go about social media and the right information to post about themselves, because digital footprint is real. And just to make sure that you know who they're talking to, especially video games too.
Oh, absolutely. Video games. I definitely, I had shared a story with one of my friends that my younger brother had gifted my daughter a Nintendo Switch Lite. And right away he said, make sure that you look up the parental codes. And I didn't even know that you could even get online on video games. That's something that was alarming for myself. So what about your peers as far as students? How can other students help their friends and their peers with this and everything that's going on?
Really, what I would say is to just bring awareness to the topic. If you see anyone around you that you think there might be something a little off with them, ask them. Reach out. Be there for people because you never know what somebody is going through. um, I would say that people need to look it up. People need to know the facts and they need to share the facts. Because if you don't know anything about it, you can't do anything to help it or stop it. Another thing is, I think people just get discouraged with the fact that human trafficking is this huge issue. Um, but if we do one thing every day, we are making 1% change. It's like taking one big bite out of an elephant a million times, you know?
I agree. Any red flags or forms of a grooming that you might have come across with, or maybe heard that one of your friends have?
Yes. Okay. So this actually reminds me of a personal anecdote. One time I was at the gas station and I got to my gas pump and it had already been paid for. And I had never been in that situation before. So I called my mom. I was like, hey, mom, my gas is like already paid for. Um, should I move to the next one? She's like, yeah, go ahead and just move up. Just wait for someone to be done. It was very crowded. She's like, and just go ahead and move to the next pump. I don't know who left their money in the tank. So I was like, okay. Well, I hang up. Well, as soon as I'm about to get back in my car and move to the next gas tank, a man comes up in a car with another younger boy, and he goes, "Oh, hey, sorry, I left my money in this tank. I was gonna fill up." And I was like, "Oh, no worries, sir. So sorry. I didn't realize. I'm gonna move up in just a second." And he was like, "Oh, well, now that you were gonna take my money, I think you should let me drive you to wherever you're going." And I was a lifeguard this summer, so I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit, and he was like, "Are you headed to the beach? I can take you there." And I was like, "No, sir. Like I'm not going to the beach. Like no, thank you. I'm just going to move up. Like thank you." And he proceeded to tell me that I was very cute and asked for my phone number and kept asking and insisting that I let him give me a ride. And in that circumstance, I feel like, especially for a lot of women who have to go pump their gas alone, or teens that are leaving work or just out alone in the middle of the day, you have to be assertive when you say no. There are, like, for example, I don't know if he would have taken me to the beach if I didn't say no. I don't know what would have happened if I got in his car. I don't know what would have happened. So it's just, I think there's a lot of little things that happen like that to everybody every day, and if you don't know better and you don't know how to say no, then you can get yourself into sticky situations.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. As a mom, that terrifies me that I just heard you say that, but I'm glad that you did because you're sharing and you handle it perfectly. You called your mom. That's the first thing you need to do. Let her know the situation. And you know, as moms, I know if my daughter's calling me, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing. I'm going to answer a call. I need to know what's going on. You handle it perfectly. Anything that you heard maybe any of your peers, any of your friends go through?
I have had a couple friends on social media share explicit photos, and those things can really come back to bite you with blackmail. You should never ever send explicit photos ever. Even if it's somebody you trust, even if it's somebody you know, you never know what those people are going to do with your information and with your images. And it can be held over your head and you can be blackmailed. And that is a form of trafficking. That is a form of exploitation and coercion.
I think it's very important to note that you need to bring awareness, and I'm glad that we're talking about your specific club because I want others to be aware that there are clubs and organizations that if you don't have it at your school, you can create one, and if so, if they're interested, what do they need to do?
What you need to do is go to the Youth Action Board Project Protect Our Children website. It's on anything if you just look up Youth Action Board Project Protect Our Children. There is a way to register where you can submit a application to be a part of the bigger board and to create a club in whatever school or community you're in. So that's the first step is just applying. Then you can send an email out to the director, Denise, who is also on that website, and you can kind of like say, hey, I submitted my application, look out for me. From then, they are really good at once you're accepted to get in touch and to get you all the steps that you need in order to do it. I know the next step after getting accepted is training, which is the longest part. But the most important part. So after you get accepted into the Youth Action Board program, you then have to go through this book of training where you understand what human trafficking is, what the grooming is, what the signs are, what the red flags are, and how to report it. Then once you have the training, you are allowed to then create events to spread awareness and information on the topic of human trafficking.
So what are some of the events that your club has, of course, hosted for your school?
So the first event that we held was actually a private screening of the movie Sound of Freedom, which was originally inspired me. And we are going to have an event actually this Saturday that is a pickleball tournament. And everyone that buys in is donating their buy-in towards the Youth Action Board in Houston. That money goes directly to victims that have been affected and to kind of their rehab.
Now, human trafficking, as you mentioned, is definitely a problem, and I'm so glad that you, along with your, how many members are in your club at your school?
So we have about 45, and about 34 of them are very active and are actually receiving a governor's award this coming week.
Oh my goodness, congratulations. That is something to look forward to. What are some of their stories that they've shared and why they were prompted to be a part of this club?
A lot of them have heard stories from other people. I know we have every week we have a meeting. We kind of share a story of a person that has written a book, just like personal anecdotes that we can find. A lot of people have friends that have been in situations, um, not necessarily, I can't necessarily share anything personal, but I know that a lot of them feel very moved by this topic and want to just take action to stop it.
What else does your club or organization have planned for the rest of the year besides, of course, the pickleball tournament?
So we have been working very closely with the sisters from our school. Being a Catholic school, they are very involved, and they have been working actually with anti-human trafficking and New Life Refuge in Corpus for longer than we have even had our club, which is only a year. They've been working with them for probably 10 to 15 years, and we have started collections for our sisters that our sisters then go out into the strip clubs and give just people information on what they might be going through, how they can get help if they need to. Just like they kind of take collections and give them to people that they think need them.
Your advice to other students that may be going through something or maybe you've had, an incident such as yours or close to it, what advice do you have for them?
I would say to be assertive. There is information about human trafficking. Look it up. Know what it is. Know what the signs of grooming are. Know the red flags on social media. Be careful with what you share. Be careful with who you talk to. Never trust anyone online. I would just say to continue to learn and to grow so that you can protect yourself and protect your younger siblings, protect your peers, educate your peers, so that we can just continue to spread education in order to be aware and to steer away from certain situations.
What is the best way for parents to even bring it up you know, it's an uncomfortable topic, but we need to talk to our kids about it. So what is your best advice for the parents?
I would say when they're young to just make sure that they understand that social media is dangerous, to help them navigate it, like kind of hold their hand through it. Walk them through everything that they should be sharing, what they shouldn't be sharing. And as they get older, explain to them the dangers. And it is a hard conversation, but it's necessary. And if we want to protect our children, then they need to know what happens in the real world, what is possible, and in order to avoid it, they have to be aware of it.
And that's all we want to do is protect our children. And that's why I invited you to be a part of this interview today, to get the word out, because our goal is a world where every child is free from predators, exploitation, and abuse. Students, educators, parents, our entire community all need to work together to make a difference by engaging, educating, and empowering. Bella, if
Yes,
other students or even their parents want to maybe, you know, reach out to their kids, student schools to find out more information on how they can start creating the club, if you could give us maybe a website or somewhere where they can go to get more information.
yes. So I would just say Project Protect Our Children Youth Action Board. If you look that up, it will take you to their website. Um, we're also looking to create an event, probably the beginning of next school year, where we are going to get other high schools into a bigger meeting where IWA will kind of share what we have done and how they can get their club started as well. I know that for middle schools and elementary schools, the club might look a little bit different just because the information in the training is very sensitive and it is very heavy. So I know that middle school and elementary school might look more like a social media safety or technology safety course, whereas in high school you can kind of do more and you can kind of have more training.
Bella, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate all of your knowledge, everything that you shared, especially you know, your experience. I think that was very impacting me as a mom. It was alarming to hear, but I'm glad that you did the right thing, and now hopefully other people and other students and other ones of your peers that hear your story will also make the right decision. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.